really like this move. And we talked about Maverick Bork a little bit yesterday on the program. He was a prime candidate for an offer sheet. But there are multiple reasons why I like this move. But we'll start with this. As we have been emphasizing for God knows how long, the Predators have needed a young player with top six potential. When you think about the future of the Predators, when Steven Stamkos moves on and Ryan O'Reilly moves on and Philip Forsberg gets older, who's next? Who's in the organization who can help fill that void? And by the looks of it so far in his young career, Maverick Bork could be that player. He's played 2 full NHL seasons. This past season, he had 41 points in 82 games, 20 goals, 21 assists, 41 points in 82 games. He's 24 years old. He turns 25 in January. 2 years ago, he was the AHL's MVP with 77 points in 71 games. He is a top six forward. His most frequent line mate this past season was Jason Robertson. So Maverick Bork is playing with top players. He's a natural center who played mostly on the wing in Dallas. All in all, and we'll dive into Bork as a player, but all in all, this is the type of move
that we have been clamoring for, whether it was Chris McFarland or Barry Trotz or hell, even David Poile. We've wanted the Predators to take a swing on one of these guys, and they did in Bork. We'll see how Bork's career progresses, but Willy, as we sit here right now, I think this was shrewd business by Chris McFarland.
Very shrewd business, and I want to give our show a pat on the back because we presented this possibility yesterday with Elliot, and then in the following segment when we were talking about specifically Maverick Bork. He fit the age category that Chris McFarland has telegraphed to the whole league, to all the Predator fans, all the media, that's where he wanted to find guys in that mid-20 range. It's been a hole in the roster for the last year or two, and so he fit the profile. I also thought it was a really smart angle and also said something about Nashville as a destination, because any team could have done this that had the salary cap, but you had to, as part of the equation, have Maverick Bork have enough interest to say, yeah, I'll go to Nashville. I have to believe that that's part of it, although they have not announced a new deal yet, which we'll get to, I'm sure. What's the next contract? Because he is a restricted free agent. But Dallas overnight, for those that missed it, they already were in a bind with Jason Robertson, yet they were still really down the road trying to make a huge trade for Zach Werenski. And so with all that going on, they were vulnerable for Maverick Bork. And Elliot reported that yesterday on our show, that they were worried that somebody could make an attempt at an offer sheet. And guys, we all, again, we're gonna, as they say, pump our own tires here for a second. We said, if you make a contract offer, an offer sheet for between $4.9 million and $7.2 million, roughly, all the compensation is a first and a third round draft pick. And that is easily a worthy gamble for a guy like Maverick Bork, who's only 24. So I think they had that leverage there, and they went to the Stars, who are in a bind, and the Stars, I think, were not in a great position. So they take a contract off the Stars' hands in Ilya Yulushkin, but only for $3.2 million for 1 year. That's an easy contract to eat, and who knows? Maybe he's a useful defenseman. He's played about 500 games in the league, so he's not nothing. But you take that contract off of Dallas's hands, and you don't even have to give up a first-round pick. That was a no-brainer.
So Bork was just a salary dump, basically.
No, well, Lyubushkin
definitely a salary dump.
So this is something.
But Bork was about to get paid.
A young guy,
right? Bork was about to get paid, and
yes.
the Stars didn't have room to pay him.
Okay,
what he was going to get.
That's essentially what I meant.
Yeah,
because
they didn't have room for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
McFarland did something here that I have been clamoring for the Predators to do for years. He weaponized their cap space because, as Willy laid out, the Stars, they've got salary cap issues. They want to re-sign Jason Robertson. They reportedly took a run at Zach Werenski. Like, they don't have enough room for all of these guys. So Chris McFarland saw a division rival in a tough spot. As Elliot told us on the program yesterday, the Stars were concerned about an offer sheet for Maverick Bourque. So McFarland swoops in and says, we'll take him off your hands. And Lyubushkin is a serviceable defenseman. He can play on your second or third pairs. Fine. He's under contract for one more year. He makes, I think, north of $3 million. $3.2 million per season. The Predators can handle that. They can use Lyubushkin. If it doesn't work out, they can flip him at the deadline. But they took advantage of a cap-strapped team and got a really good asset out of it and did not have to give up a premier asset. They did not have to give up a first-round pick. I remember asking David Poile about this years ago when the team was starting this transition, and he did not like the idea of taking on a bad contract to bring in a valuable asset. So to me, that's my favorite part, really, of this deal is McFarland was able to extract a valuable young player from a division rival by weaponizing his cap space. So I give him solid marks on that.
It's weaponizing cap space, and it's also weaponizing draft capital. And that is where I think you have to salute a little bit of David Poile, but definitely Barry Trotz these last couple years when he has sold at the deadline to get those extra second, third round picks. Because one of the third round picks was the one they got for Cole Smith. When they traded Cole Smith to Vegas, they wheeled that third round pick to Dallas to get Bourque. So being able to stockpile all these picks, they used 2 third round picks to get Ross Colton. So they used the third round pick they got for Jack Drury and flipped that to Vancouver to get Niels Höglander. So using your draft capital was a big part of this. Other teams can't do that. Colorado can't do that. Toronto can't do that. Edmonton can't do that. Dallas can't really do that. But the Predators could because they have all of these extra picks that they stockpiled when they traded guys like Colton Smith, as we mentioned. Cole Smith. They traded Michael Bunting. They traded Gus Nyquist. They traded Tanner Jeannot for a whole bunch of picks, Nick Blankenberg. There's a number of guys that they spun off, and Chris McFarland inherited these picks, and he's used these picks to get new players. Now, we'll see what these players look like when they're all playing together, but on the surface, it's sound strategy, I think. And he hasn't touched any of the big assets that they have going forward, right? The premier prospects, the first-round picks, etc.
And I'm not going to sit here and promise you that Maverick Bourque is going to develop into the next Philip Forsberg or anything like that. But he has top 6 potential, and he's young, and that's incredibly important. We've been hammering this point home for God knows how long. And the Predators brought in other players in that age group, like Jack Drury and Niels Höglander. But I don't see those players as future top 6 players. I see Maverick Bourque, if he continues in his development, as a part of the Predators' top 6 for years to come, alongside Luke Evangelista, another young player who played in the Predators' top 6 this past season. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Adrian. Adrian, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, 2 things that maybe you mentioned that I missed, but Lubavitch is a right-handed defenseman, which we always need. And Bourque, even though he played wing on the Stars, he came up as a center. So it's like, not only are we getting these 2 players, we're getting what we need, which is top 6 centers and right-handed defensemen.
Thank you for the call, Adrian. Yes, Lyubushkin is a right-handed defenseman, and he's been around the league. The Predators will be his 6th team in 9 years, if my math is right. He is a serviceable depth defenseman. He is 32 years old. He just turned 32 a couple of months ago, so he'll be 32 throughout the season. Lyubushkin's not going to be a long-term member of this team. If the team stinks, you're flipping Lyubushkin at the deadline. Someone will pay up for him. Again, he's been around the league.
He really has.
He's been around the league. I wonder how many times he's been traded.
This could be his final stop.
He's been traded 3 times already in his career, so he's been around.
There usually is a pretty decent market for those guys. Really, third pair guys, right? Especially a right-handed third pair guy. The righties are harder to find than lefties. So somebody always seems to have a need for those guys year to year. And it's a little bit like Eric Halla or Michael Bunting. Like they don't ever seem to find a permanent home, but they're a useful piece to the puzzle when that kind of job description is needed.
Right. So to me, not to disregard Ilya Lyubushkin, which is a fun name to say, by the way.
I got to practice that. I've always had trouble saying his name.
It's not Lyubushkin?
Lyubushkin's easy to say, but when you say his full name, Ilya Lyubushkin, you have to pause. Like
Ilya Lyubushkin.
You can't just say it all in one.
He's just going to be Lyubushkin. I'll say it like once again. I'll say that's the first time he touches the puck, Ilya Lyubushkin. After that, Lyubushkin.
It sounds like a Russian pet name, my little Lyubushkin. Either way, it's not about Lyubushkin. It's about Bork. And I think the Predators did really well here. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this feels like a steal. It feels like the Predators stole a young, up-and-coming top 6 forward from a division rival, no less. And he'll have the opportunity here, as the caller mentioned. Bork, much like Ross Colton in Colorado, played a lot of wing, although, if I am correct, Bork is a natural center, but the Stars have really good centers, so Bork did not play center. I was looking at...
And he did take a fair amount of faceoffs, right, for a guy that didn't really play center. So that also tells me that he has some center skills.
Right, like I'm like the most common line he played on in Dallas last season was Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnston, and Maverick Bork. I believe it was Robertson on the left, Johnston in the middle, Bork on the right. So Bork played a lot of right wing last season, but he can play center, which could be good, for example, for someone such as Matt Wood. You can either move Matt Wood to the wing, or you can move him down the lineup, and he can play and develop in lower leverage situations. So there's a lot to like about this move.
Another thing you could potentially do with the versatility that these guys have. And when I say these guys, we're talking about Ross Colton, definitely Maverick Bork, and the other guy that they signed today, which was a surprise after all of the fireworks in the morning, Alex Kerfoot, another guy who could play center
2 years
and wing.
$7 million total, $3.5 million per year for Kerfoot.
So those guys who can play different roles or on different lines are really good pieces to have. And they're not headliners. In fact, I listened to a lot of NHL radio today. I don't think I heard one mention of any of these deals, not even the Maverick Bork deal. Everybody's real fixated on where's Werenski going to go? Where is Robertson going to go? What about Hellebuck? It's all about that.
Darnell Nurse has reportedly been traded. So
that just happened, right?
Yep.
So where did he end up?
Reportedly San Jose.
So San Jose getting all of the defensemen.
Jacob Trouba signed with San Jose earlier. So
that's going to be interesting there. But I don't think people here are quite as worried about that today. But
no.
But the versatility. So you could have Bork and Wood, or Wood and Kerfoot, Wood and Colton, where you have a quasi situation, right? Depending on where the faceoff is, who's the center, who's the wing. So it's a good way to sort of support a young player like Matt Wood.
615-737-1025. We will take your reaction to the first day of NHL free agency. The Predators have signed only one player so far in NHL free agency, veteran forward Alex Kerfoot, who spent last season with the Utah Mammoth, has played for 4 teams over a 9-year career. He signs a 2-year deal with a $3.5 million cap hit. But the big news of the day for the Predators, they trade for Dallas Stars young forward Maverick Bork. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on that. We'll get back into NHL free agency on the other side. But today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, Mad Fireworks, and Social Cantina. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, reacting to NHL free agency. It was reported during the break that the Utah Mammoth are trading for Vincent Trocheck. And I think this is interesting. I'm very interested to see the return on this trade because we discussed this last week. I think the return on a Trocheck trade could provide the framework for a potential Ryan O'Reilly trade if Chris McFarland decided to do that. So I am fascinated to see what this return will be for Trocheck. It hasn't been reported yet what the return is, but it has been reported by multiple people that Vincent Trocheck is going to Utah.
And Utah has a lot of assets to trade. I think that was something that they had in their back pocket, and I think they're getting antsy. They want to win. They had a taste of it last year. They're a team on the rise, and I think they feel like this is their time to go get a veteran like Trocheck. So I agree, because everything Elliott was saying is the Rangers they held fast. They didn't trade Trocheck at the trade deadline, and they had a pretty high price. So I am curious myself of what the return is.
Let's get to your reaction on the Maverick Bourque trade. This morning, the Predators acquired 24-year-old forward Maverick Bourque and defenseman Ilya Labushkin from the Dallas Stars for a second-round pick in 2027 and a third-round pick in 2028. 615-737-1025. Sonny says, does the Maverick Bourque trade relieve some of the pressure on the forward prospects who are maybe a year or two away? Yes, I think Bourque does, as well as Ross Colton and Jack Drury and Alex Kerfoot. You're bringing in a lot of veteran players. So, yes, that means, for instance, if Brady Martin isn't ready for the NHL, you don't have to force him to play. If other forward prospects need more time in the American League, they will have that opportunity. My question is, and we can discuss this a little bit later, Chris McFarland is apparently hoarding all of the bottom six forwards in the NHL. Like, I do wonder if there will be a corresponding move or moves to relieve some of the logjam that's building up on this roster. So I can't say definitively that they've brought in all of these guys or they're trading this guy. But I have to imagine, Willie, that someone's on their way out.
There were a couple of things that I thought in because that question certainly came up in my mind as they made these signings. Because right now, I think they're in a spot where they have enough depth at forward. They could easily make another trade to move one or two guys out to do something else that they're looking for. Either replenish some draft picks, maybe get a prospect, maybe address the D-core. That would be my area that I would circle that I think is still a work in progress. I think they would like to address the D-core. And now they have extra forwards. But here are two things that I think it affects in the guys that are still there right now. You mentioned Brady Martin. I completely agree. It signals to me they're not counting on Brady Martin. Anything he gives them this year would be gravy. They're not going to rush him. And he has said that. Chris McFarland has said, we're not going to rush Brady Martin. He's going to get there when he gets there. He's still very, very young. And so that kind of tells me they don't quite think he's ready. He'd have to sort of force his way in. And if he does, all the better. The other two guys that I think are, should I use this term, Adam, on blast? Is that the right term? Is Joachim Kemmel and Reed Schaefer. I think they're on alert.
On notice?
On notice that it's time. Like, this is your year. You gotta, we're not just going to carve out this lane where you have all this runway where, hey, you can sink or swim. You got to get it done or we're moving on. We got other prospects. You've got, and they've got a lot of them here this week, right? The guys that are not going to play for the team this year, but the rookie prospect game is Friday. I think they're looking a lot more at that group than they are Kemmel, Schaefer, Weisblatt, etc. Right? Because they don't have to play those guys now. They have enough depth that they could fill out the roster with more veteran guys.
Do you think he's just trying to create competition with
those
younger guys?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a double-edged sword to that, right? Because I think Kemmel and Schaefer are probably like, man, they don't think that much of me. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I gotta work my butt off. I gotta get better to show that I belong in this league. So it could go either way. We talked about it a lot with Traylon Burks.
Yes.
Right. That's what they did to Burks last year.
Create competition.
And Burks didn't take advantage. Right. He couldn't make it work. They moved on. So I think that's the crossroads that particularly Kemmel and Schaefer are. It also signals that Martin is not in a position where he has to help them right now.
One texter says, on Bork, I'm not thrilled with trading a second-round pick, but he is on track for a chance to be a high-end second-line center. That is worth a second and third if it works out. I think Lyubushkin can solidify the bottom four defense, which was a major weakness of the Predators recently. Let's go to our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, and welcome in Scott in Hendersonville. Scott, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
82-0, guys. Adam, you mentioned
it's actually 84-0 now because there are going to be two more games. So there you go.
Well, 82-2. Let's be realistic.
Yes.
Adam, you mentioned something about weaponizing cap space, and I've been sitting here for the last couple of hours because I'm paying attention to what all's going on everywhere. You know, Vegas gave Lausanne a nice contract, and then they went out and they re-signed Rasmus Anderson, and they look like they're over the cap, or maybe with injuries they're up against it. Bottom line, they've got cap trouble because they don't even have 23 guys on the roster yet, and I think they're right up at the cap. Is there anybody on Vegas that would be conceivable that we could, and you know, that might be a situation where one Mr. Marchessault might want to return, or they might want to take him back. Is there any deal you can think of with anybody on Vegas that they might part with where we could weaponize some cap space?
Thank you, Scott.
It's a great thought, and I think that's where the thinking can be. I have had a lot of thoughts about Marchessault with the way the forwards look now. I see a group of forwards that if they were to trade Marchessault, they wouldn't feel like they had to get a forward back. I think if they could get a defenseman, that would be great. But that's really a theme to look at, I think, is look at teams that really don't have a lot of room, that would like to shed a contract to try to improve. Like you saw with Colorado. That's what they did to Colorado. Colorado had to shed cap space, and they used it to go sign Jaden Schwartz and re-sign a defenseman. I'm forgetting his name, the defenseman, Brett Kulak. They needed to clear out cap space, so they couldn't keep Ross Colton. They couldn't keep Jack Drury. So to me, that's a good strategy, and Chris McFarland has already used that strategy to the Stars and the Avs, two teams within their own division. So why not look at Vegas?
Elliot Friedman, our friend Elliot, has reported the return for Vincent Trocheck. Defenseman Sean Dursey, prospect, I don't know how to pronounce this last name, Cole Beaudoin, Beaudoin, and a third-round pick for Vincent Trocheck. The prospect, whose last name I probably just butchered, is Utah's seventh best prospect, according to friend of the show, Scott Wheeler. Okay. So Sean Dursey.
Dursey's a solid defenseman.
Solid defenseman.
He's a top four guy, right? Probably a second pair guy on a good team.
So let's call it a second pair defenseman, a top 10 prospect, and a third round pick for Vincent Trocheck.
If that was the return for O'Reilly. Now, I don't know much about the prospect. The prospect is key. Now, the seventh best prospect on Utah might be pretty good because Utah's got a deep pool of prospects.
The Mammoth were number 6 in Wheeler's rankings, right behind the Predators at number 5. So he could be a pretty good prospect. I don't know much about him, but if that were the return, a second pairing defenseman, a top 10 prospect, and the third round pick for Ryan O'Reilly,
doesn't blow you away on paper, right?
No, it does not blow me away at all. Let's continue to get your reaction. Here's an interesting question. Willie, maybe you can help me out with this one. Why are right-handed defensemen so hard to find? Are there just no righties playing D in the NHL, or is it harder for a right-handed player for some reason?
Just the way it's a little bit like, I don't want to make everything about baseball, but I think similar to how it's harder to find left-handed pitchers, it's not quite as hard to find right-hand defenseman, but it's harder. And I think the best I've had it explained to me, and I was not a hockey player growing up. I'm left-handed, and when I played floor hockey, I couldn't skate to save my life, but I was a pretty good floor hockey player. I just grabbed the hockey stick like I grabbed a baseball bat, and I swung it the same way. But apparently, like for Canadian players, it's the opposite. Your strong hand goes on the top hand of your stick. So that's why right-handed people tend to shoot left-handed in Canada, and I think that's the case in a lot of places around the world. Therefore, you have more guys that are lefty shooters in all positions, not just defense, but particularly on defense, because at forward it's easier to play the other positions, whether you're righty or lefty. It is a factor of meshing together the righty shots and lefty shots, but right-handed, you'd prefer to have a right-handed shooter on the right side of the ice.
I'm being informed by someone in our YouTube chat that the proper pronunciation of the prospect traded in the Trocheck trade is Baudouin.
That sounds right.
Okay, well,
that would be like a French. Is he Canadian, Montreal kind of guy?
I don't know. And
French Canadian.
Maybe I'll take some time to look it up during the break, but that's beside the point. One texter says, Adam, surely this means Marchessault and Ozzy Weisblatt and likely Joachim Kemmel are guys being traded. Can't see how they go to Milwaukee, or what would it be for? Like, we have been wondering about Marchessault, and we have talked about how he has control over the situation because of the clause in his contract. But I will stress this. It hasn't worked here, but I am convinced there is a team out there who would be willing to take a risk on a player at $5.5 million per season who is only a couple of years removed from winning the Conn Smythe Trophy and scoring 40 goals. I can imagine there's a team out there willing to take a risk versus signing a huge contract in free agency. Now, you might get pennies on the dollar. You might get back a mid-round draft pick. I don't think you're getting anything super valuable, but I do think there could be a team out there who would be willing to take a shot, saying, hey, we've got better centers than Nashville does. If we put Marchessault with this guy, he'll get back to scoring the way he did alongside Jack Eichel in Vegas. So we'll see if it happens. I do believe that Chris McFarland is going to have to clear out this logjam with all of these forwards he's brought in via trade and free agency. Someone's got to be going out the door.
And so you can see why they felt like Zach LaRue and Fedor Svechkov were expendable, because that's the stage of contract those guys were in. So if they can't make other deals, if they don't, and I feel like they've got a lot of ability now and flexibility to make more moves, and I still am eyeing the defense core, but I think the texter is right. Guys like Vitaly Pinchuk and Ozzy Weisblatt, Kemmel and Schaefer, we've mentioned. You wonder what they're going to do. Pinchuk especially, he's the complete mystery man of what they want to do with him now at this point. Because remember, that was not a Chris McFarland signing. That was a signing they made before McFarland took over. So I'm not sure what they make of him. But let's take Ozzy Weisblatt. Could he get through waivers and get to Milwaukee? I think if they keep him around, Weisblatt, who he has a very distinct skill set. He's a fourth liner through and through. He's a disturber. He is an emotional player, energy guy. But if you lost him on the waiver wire, I think you would still be able to, you would survive, right? But you'd like to have the depth if you can. So that's the position they're in.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your reaction to NHL free agency, the Maverick Bourque acquisition from the Dallas Stars, the signing of Alex Kerfoot. We'll talk about what else is going on around the NHL, including some new homes for former members of the Nashville Predators. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
If you've lived in Middle Tennessee for any time, then you've seen how wild our weather can be, from winter storms, tornadoes to flooding. We've seen it all. Like many of you, the winter storm earlier this year caught me unprepared. I lost power for 7 days. That's 7 days out of my house, staying at a hotel, worrying about whether I was going to come home to some busted pipes or not. That's when I realized being prepared isn't optional. I will be ready the next time a weather emergency happens. I started looking for whole home generators and found Tri-State Water Power and Air. They've been in business for over 30 years, specializing in generators for more than half of those, which is great. But the reason I chose to reach out and ultimately go with them, it was because of the reviews and confidence other homeowners shared about their experience with Tri-State Water Power and Air. When Tri-State came to my home, they did a free on-site assessment, made sure the generator fit my home for me and my family's needs. The thing I appreciated the most was they didn't try to oversell me. Straight answers. Everything was turnkey. They handled everything from the installation to the long-term service. So if anything ever goes wrong, I'm not calling around. I'm making one call, and that's the Tri-State Water Power and Air, because they've got me covered. That's the kind of relationship I want, and I know that's the kind of relationship you want. So look, the weather isn't slowing down much. It is hot as fish grease out there, people. You know it as well as I know it. So be ready. Call Tri-State Water Power and Air today to protect your home and your family. Find them at tristatewhywait.com. That's tristatewhywait.com.
DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game, Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, reacting to the first day of NHL free agency. Let's take a moment to talk about some former Predators players on the move today. Erik Haula has joined the LA Kings, a 2-year deal with a cap hit of $3.6 million. So Erik Haula leaves the Predators, joins former Predators coach Peter Laviolette in Los Angeles. So 2 years, $3.6 million per year for Erik Haula, leaving the Predators for a second time and heading to LA. Cole Smith, traded by the Predators at the deadline to Vegas, signs with the Chicago Blackhawks, 3 years, $3 million per season. Colton Sissons, also traded by the Predators to the Vegas Golden Knights, I think 1 year ago today or yesterday, as part of the Nick Hague deal, leaves Vegas after one season, signs with the Toronto Maple Leafs, 2 years, $4.25 million per season. So some former Predators players on the move. Victor Arvidsson hasn't played for the Predators in several years. He's still kicking around the league, signed a 2-year deal with a $5 million cap hit with the Detroit Red Wings.
A little engine that could. Just keeps on chugging.
He had a really good season last season in Boston. Really good 5-on-5 player. And I like the bet by the Red Wings. But I'm looking at these contracts. Erik Haula, 2 years, $3.6 million per year. Cole Smith, 3 years, $3 million per year. I don't think I would have given either of those players those contracts.
If not in the old market, but the new market is the new market. Would you have given Victor Arvidsson 2 years at $5 million per year?
Based on what he did last year, I would have been more willing to do that.
But he is an injury risk.
Yes,
everywhere he goes. Like,
that is the issue.
There's just more money out there.
That is the issue.
There's more money for guys who are specific role players. I think Cole Smith is a great story. He's a guy that was not on anybody's radar. He was a undrafted free agent. Predators had him for a couple years. I remember one summer he was the oldest guy by a good margin in the rookie development camp. I'm like, why do they have this guy? Like, what's his story? And they were like, well, John Hines really likes him. He likes Cole Smith. And then lo and behold, Cole Smith started playing and worked his way from that point to where he is today, earning a multi-year guaranteed contract. That's a great success story. And the Predators took the draft pick that they got in exchange for Cole Smith and used that to get Maverick Bourque. So that's a guy that was not an asset that the Predators found. And so you got to credit David Poile for that. And I think to a large degree, John Hines. And they turned that into an asset that helped them get a Maverick Bourque, which we'll see where that goes. But I think we're all encouraged about finding a way to get a Maverick Bourque.
And now, Predators fans, you are required by law to hate Cole Smith because he's playing for the Chicago Blackhawks. You can't love the story anymore. Well, you can, but you got to.
That's going to be a tough one.
You got to put it aside. You got to put it aside when the Predators play the Blackhawks starting next season. I'm also happy for Colton Sissons. I remember when Colton Sissons signed his previous contract, and it was a unique contract. He signed a long-term deal for small money. His cap hit was under $3 million per year. I remember talking to him about that 7 years ago, and he was willing to take the security over the big payday.
That was, wouldn't you say, a David Poile tactic of the times?
Callie Yarncroke did a similar.
Victor Arvidsson.
Yes. He had a 7-year deal for like 4.25, 4.5, something like that. That was a David Poile thing. You
pretty effective for a while.
It did, yeah. So I'm glad that Colton Sissons is getting. He had a solid season too. Like he's not. Colton Sissons is not an offensive player. I mean, he put up points for the Predators. A couple of double-digit goal seasons, if memory serves, but he's a solid and versatile defensive forward. Won a ton of important face-offs for the Golden Knights. I thought stood out in a good way during the Golden Knights run to the Stanley Cup final. Glad to see him getting a big raise. And we talked about the market, but happy for Colton Sissons. One texter says, that will be easy. I've never liked Cole Smith. about the story. One texter says, "Sweet mother of all that's holy, can we stop talking about Cole Smith around here? We were just bringing up the fact he signed with the Blackhawks."
You triggered somebody.
You should be happy. What are you mad about? He's not. If you didn't like Cole Smith before, you should be happy. He's not there anymore, and they used the draft pick they got for him to get Bork. That's my point.
There's like this weird.
But like Cole Smith was not a first-round pick. He was an undrafted free agent that turned himself into a good, solid role player. So chill. It's okay.
Cole Smith.
You need these guys.
He was a punching bag for a certain.
Yes, it was ridiculous. Very unfair to
portion of the Predators fan base. I think that same portion of the Predators fan base also disliked John Hines. So I think people who dislike John Hines also dislike Cole Smith. It doesn't matter anymore. Neither of them are here. Be happy for the guy. He got paid. He did not get paid here. We were just bringing it up.
But you also have to admit that you were wrong. That these guys, throw Michael McCarron in there too, that they belong in the league, right? All of you out there on the Twitter sphere that like to say, why do these guys even have a job in the league? They never score. That's basically in a nutshell. But look at the contracts they just got. People liked it. They were sought after guys. They're not trying to find a deal, find a team right now on a tryout contract. They're getting real money. And the Predators, they got Michael McCarron for nothing. They got him for, I can't remember the guy's name.
Laurent Dauphin.
Dauphin. Yeah. Where's he now?
Good question.
Predators, that was a good, shrewd trade that they turned into a second-round pick going forward. They traded McCarron for a second-round pick. McCarron just got a 6-year deal. Cole Smith, undrafted. They traded him for a third-round pick. They used it to get Maverick Bork. Why don't you like that? So don't give me this, why are we talking about Cole Smith? That's why. He helped them get Maverick Bork.
Dallas Stars GM Jim Nill, by the way, addressing reporters, and he said that the threat of an offer sheet compelled him to trade Maverick Bork.
100%. It was clear as day. And if you listened to our show yesterday, you would know that.
You would know that. See? All right, we're gonna move off of Cole Smith so we don't make Willy. I mean, it's Bobby Bonilla Day, so Willie's also
he's a little angst.
He's
and
already.
The Mets are terrible. Okay,
the Mets stink. You're paying Bobby Bonilla for 10 more years.
Right. It's just
9 more years.
It's not my favorite day.
It's match day. Cheer up.
It's not my favorite day.
We'll get
At least
to the
it takes the heat off.
Yes.
That the Mets aren't doing well because we're talking about
You're right.
Bobby
It's
Bonilla.
a distraction.
Exactly.
Yes.
At least for a day.
At least for a day.
Do I need to remind people how much the Mets are paying Bobby Bonilla? Hold on. Give me a moment.
$1
million.
Oh, it's more than $1 million.
A little more.
It's more than $1 million. I want to find the exact number. Because it's fun to say. Hold on. I'm scrolling. I'll get to it. One texter says, what's your gauge on how Chris McFarland feels about Brady Martin? I'd hate to see our highest draft pick in a long time move because of a GM change. Brady Martin's not going anywhere. Chris McFarland has mentioned Brady Martin multiple times unprompted when talking about the future of the organization. The point that we have made with all of these moves they've made over the past couple of weeks is now Brady Martin doesn't need to be tossed into the deep end. They've got veteran forwards who can play. So if Martin needs more time to develop, he's not being thrust into a situation he isn't prepared for. By the way, the precise total for Bobby Bonilla every year, $1,193,000 $1,193,248.
$248.20.
So it's a little over $1 million. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
No, the 20 cents. You got to give it 20 cents.
20 cents.
Yes, the 20 cents is very important. I did a much better job spitting it out earlier. So
here's the other part of Brady Martin. I still don't know if there's been clarification of whether he's allowed to play in Milwaukee. There's been a lot of speculation that the rule will be changed, that even though he's only 19, and the old rule would suggest you have to play in the NHL or you have to play in junior. There hopefully will be a rule change there that allows the Predators to put him in Milwaukee, which I think would be the right place for him to play this year. But it takes that burden out. If that rule stays the old way, they don't have to feel pressure to keep him in the NHL, because I think there'll be a lot of notion that he's sort of grown out of the Canadian Junior League. Fair to say, Adam?
Oh, yeah.
Ideally, you wouldn't want to have him play the whole season in Canadian Junior, because he's already proven that he's, a star player in that league. He needs to be playing against older guys to help his development, I think.
Quickly, one texter says, who are the Predators' enforcers? I asked when they traded McCarron, and I'm still curious. I worry
Good
about
question.
a young team with no big bros to protect them.
Good question. I do think that's a lacking part of the roster right now.
Well, I don't know how much of an enforcer Adam Edstrom is. He was acquired during the NHL draft from the New York Rangers. He's 6'7" and 232 pounds. So
But if I looked, I'll look again here. I haven't seen a lot of Pims.
No,
next
he
to his
only
name.
had 2 penalty minutes in 35 games. So not much of an enforcer in the way that McCarron is. So it's a good question. I mean, it's a skill set that it's nice to have on your team, as we have talked about for many years.
It's a real thing, for sure.
Fighting is diminishing. The role of fighting is diminishing, but it is important to have someone on your team who can keep players on the other team honest.
Right. And it's still, I think, a tactic that some teams build around. I think there's no question. The Panthers, with the intimidation, the toughness, the strength, that's still a great way to win. It's not the only way to win, but that's a fair question to bring up. Is, again, this is July 1st. They've still got time to shape and tweak the roster between now and the start of the season.
615-737-1025. Actually, one texter brings up a good point. Texter says, I could see Nick Hague being that guy. He had a few good fights last season. Hague could fill that role.
He can hold his own
Yeah.
with that. He's got the size. I don't think he prefers to be in that role.
Right. McCarron relished that role.
Yeah. Embraced it.
Yeah. 615-737-1025. We will continue to react to NHL free agency. But coming up next, of course, there was a big, heartbreaking story earlier this week in the NFL. Former Titans running back Chris Johnson announced his ALS diagnosis. And I have a question specifically for Derek Mason following the announcement of Chris Johnson's ALS diagnosis. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you on a sweltering July 1st. Again, your daily reminder of how much I hate summer, but we don't have to relitigate that right now. World Cup action ongoing. Senegal, a 1-0 lead against Belgium at halftime. The winner of that match will play the winner of the U.S. men's national team's match tonight against Bosnia-Herzegovina. So we'll see what happens there. I was glued to my TV earlier today, hoping that Congo was going to pull off what I have to imagine would have been one of the biggest upsets in soccer history against England. But Harry Kane saved the day for the Brits, and England wins 2-1. I was rooting hard for the Congo because I would have if Congo would have pulled off the upset. I don't know if I would have been able to do the show today because I would have been glued to like the BBC for the rest of the day to hear all of the commentary and to see if London would burn.
Oscar Shibwe thanks you for your support, by the way.
You see from the Congo?
He is.
Okay. Well, there you go.
The Congo came out and they made a great play and scored. England looked really rattled early, and then they hung in there. They started playing well. The Congo goalie, I forget his name, but man, Mpasi or something like that, he made so many highlight reel saves, and they were holding them off. But then Harry Kane, the superstar for England, came through to score too. That's a big theme here. The superstar players around the world are all shining here with Messi playing great. Mbappe, we were watching yesterday live. He's been putting on a show. And then Kane has had a big tournament so far. So England has survived. So I can't wait to see some of the headlines here. The drama around that team is always unprecedented. And they got the US of A tonight.
England versus Mexico in the next round. That'll be a good one.
Mexico, they had a great crowd last night in their first game. And it was against Ecuador, another Spanish-speaking country, obviously. So it was buzzing last night.
Cool.
It was awesome. They came out and scored too early. That place went nuts. I saw a clip. Did you see the clip on social media? There was a random fan of Mexico at the Dodgers game last night. And when Mexico scored, he was in the front row right behind home plate. And he just started screaming, "Go!" Like he didn't care who was around him, who heard him. He didn't care that the game was going on. He just kept screaming goal for Mexico.
I love it. That's so cool.
These people are crazy.
So your confirmed matchups in the round of 16 at the World Cup: Paraguay versus France, Canada versus Morocco, Brazil versus Norway, Mexico versus England. Those are the confirmed matchups so far in the round of 16. And if the U.S. men's national team wins tonight against Bosnia, the U.S. would play the winner of the game ongoing right now, Senegal, a 1-0 lead against Belgium as the second half gets underway.
Coach Willy's a little worried about the game tonight. There's a lot of hype about
Coach
the USA
Willy's worried
team.
about the Bosnians.
They're worthy of the hype because they've been playing so well. But let's not overhype here. You got to take care of business, boys.
Now,
let's go.
Can you place Bosnia and Herzegovina on the map?
Yeah, generally, yeah.
It's what, southeastern Europe, thereabouts?
Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Like I could give you a general idea of where it is.
Yugoslavia, like when I was in high school, it was still Yugoslavia.
Yes.
So that's what I had to identify in the geography class.
There are fun things to say on today's program. Ilya Labushkin, Bosnia, Herzegovina. Very fun things to say.
And then this Baudouin guy that
yes,
was involved in a trade. We still don't know exactly if we're right or not.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So I do want to touch on something that happened earlier this week. Of course, we discussed it. All of you know about it. On Monday, Chris Johnson, former Tennessee Titans running back, went on Good Morning America and revealed that he has been diagnosed with ALS. And it's an absolutely terrible, gut-wrenching story. Chris Johnson, I believe, is just 40 years old. And I know a lot of Titans fans out there, feel terrible because of just how much joy Chris Johnson brought to Titans fans for many years. But it's got me wondering about ALS and the continued risks of playing football. There have been studies done. I am reading from Neurology Today. A study of nearly 20,000 NFL players found that they have a 4 times higher rate of ALS than the general male population. And players who had been diagnosed with ALS had significantly longer careers, 7 years, than athletes without ALS. And we talked about this a little bit with Trevor Maddich, who, of course, had a long playing career, both in college and in the NFL. He played more than 10 years in the NFL. Derek Mason, you played 15 years in the NFL. And I am curious for your opinion on this. If you had known all the risks associated with football, would that have changed anything for you?
Had I known all the risk, probably I would have loved to have been, because the way they see athletes or the way they see the body now is totally different from, when I was playing. I think it's more, we want to make sure we maximize out, the players out there on the field, man or woman. We want to make sure that we strap them with all these gadgets so we know and we can foretell anything that may happen to them physically. When I was playing, that wasn't the case. It was nowhere near that. I mean, guys did some things on their own, but it wasn't to the magnitude it is now. So if I would have known and understood, I still would have played. I think you approach things. And I got Coach Heimerdinger, when he first got here to Nashville, it was about after a year or so when I started playing. And I was one of those dudes that, growing up in Detroit, it was, you get everything you can get. It was like, you go for that extra. If you can get it, you get it. There was no, you ran out of bounds, you were called a punk. You wasn't tough. So, and I'm talking about high school. So you didn't see anybody running out of bounds. You saw people attacking contact, going at contact. And Heimerdinger told me, I think it was after a year or two after he had been there, he said, listen, know when the journey ends. We don't need you to get that extra yard and hurt yourself or put yourself in a compromising position. We'll get it. Get it when you need to get it. Don't try to get that extra yard when it's not there. And when he said that, it made sense. Why am I going to try to, run into a guy that's 20 pounds heavier than me, and more than likely he's bigger than me, taller? I already got the first down. I don't need to get that extra yard or get down, avoid the hit. I was blessed to not have some of the things happen to me that I've seen happen to other players. It had nothing to do necessarily with what I did. I trained. I did everything that everybody else was doing. I probably did a little bit more. But what made my situation different from everybody else's? And not to say that, guys that took the approach I took still didn't have injuries. But I realized that, listen, there's life after football. And if I can try to do anything to maximize more time on this earth with my children, then I'm going to do it. But it wouldn't have made me think, had I known all of this, I'm going to stop playing football. Listen, God blessed me with that ability. Okay. I'm not going to throw it away. I'm just not. There was a talent there. It afforded me to go to college. It afforded me to have the life that I have now, which is a good life. It's good. But it was because of the blessings that was bestowed on me. So I'm not going to sit here after all of that and say, no, I wouldn't have played. No, I would have played because I was blessed. Not everybody's, there's billions of people in this world, but there's only 20, when you say 50 something guys per team. So do the math.
Yeah.
2,000 some players. There's that many people play in this league. So
and a whole bunch of other people that would love to take somebody's place.
Absolutely.
That doesn't want to play.
Absolutely. So it's
a real, I don't know, paradox in some ways, because
I was about to hit it.
because there's just it's just the way people who love their sport are wired. Like there was a great study. Steve Watterson, who was the longtime strength coach for the Titans, he was reading. He shared years ago on the radio a study that he had read about Olympic athletes, and I think there was some sort of question of if you could take a pill a fictitious pill that would allow you to win a gold medal, but you would sacrifice X amount of years off your life. It was a very high number. It wasn't like, hey, you're going to die 1 year before you would ordinarily die. It was like a lot of years, significant. I can't remember what the number was. Overwhelmingly, the Olympic athletes said, sign me up. I'll trade X years off the back end of my life so I could win a gold medal. I don't think football players are wired much differently. I think they love the game so much that they will put to the side. They'll compartmentalize the risk. They'll accept the risk. I do wonder, though, how parents feel about the data that's there now, especially with a lot of other sports. Did you ever, do you think maybe looking back, Derek, if you'd have known the ALS component of this that we're talking about, this is why we're talking about it today, because of Chris Johnson's story and the study of you're much more likely to maybe be prone to a terrible disease like that. And then the concussion part, CTE, all the veteran football players that you can see, some guys, are struggling with other health issues, hip replacements or knee replacements. Do you think you might have been shifted towards other sports? You might have been thinking about other sports rather than football? Would you have considered it? Or because you didn't start playing football until...
My story is not like many, at least back in the day. It's not like many. I didn't start playing until my 11th grade year. So that's pretty rare. There was this gravitational pull like to basketball or track or something else. But then something happened in when I was playing basketball. I messed up my hip and I'm sitting there and my coach walked past, who's the track coach, also the football coach, because he had been asking me, when are you going to play football? He had been asking me for almost 2 years. When are you going? And I'm like, no, I don't want to touch it. As I'm sitting there, he walked past and he said, that's why I told you should have played football. And I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and give it a try. And I did. But you know who else thinks like, say, gold medalists or football players? And I'm sure you can go to hockey and ask those guys the same thing. And they would more than likely they would say, man, I'll still play. Yeah. Because of such a physical sport. But those that sign up for our armed services, I've been in a room with them, and to a man and a woman, they said, I'd do it again. Even though they know what happens possibly on the other side, they still say, I'd do it again. Because there's always that why. It's the why. It's not necessarily the question. It's not that I'm going to do it. It's the why are you going to do it? And I heard from those men and women, they said, because I love my country, or my dad served, or my mom served, and this is a part of our family. I love it. I just want to be a part of a team. So even though you may know all that stuff, those whys are the things that are making you or allowing you to do those things. And my why was I was blessed with this ability. Why not play? And I knew about concussions, but it wasn't as prevalent as far as like, the science behind it and everything else and what the NFL was holding back. But every guy knew there was a possibility that you can get hurt. I mean, we've seen guys, Stingley, we've seen them get paralyzed, on the field. So guys see this and guys still choose to say, you know what, I'm going to play that sport. And I think it's that way with just about everything. If you love it that much and you feel you've been blessed to do this, whatever it is, you're going to say, even if you've suffered some setbacks or something else, you're going to say, yeah, I'd do it all over again.
It's just sobering when you look at how young these players have been diagnosed with ALS. Chris Johnson is 40. I believe he was diagnosed a year ago. He's just now revealing it, if I remember all of the details correctly. So he was in his late 30s, early 40s when he was diagnosed. Tim Shaw, was in his late 20s, early 30s when he was diagnosed. Steve Gleason was 34 when he was diagnosed. These are young men.
How old was OJ Brigance? I think OJ was 30 because he had just retired, so he had to be late 30s, mid to late 30s.
I'll have to take a look
Yeah.
on Brigance. But it's just it is. And Willie, you did ask this question, and I'll answer it before we get back to it on the other side. 615-737-1025. Like I can tell you, my wife and I, we have a 4.5-year-old son. He has taken a slight interest in sports. He's played soccer like most 4.5-year-olds do. It's already been determined that football will not be an option to him. We will not allow our son to play football, which means we probably won't allow our son to play hockey either, because there are issues with concussions and CTE in ice hockey as well. So I don't know if he'll ever take up an interest in football, but we certainly will not steer him in that direction. Like we have made a decision as a family that Arlo will not be playing football. The risk is just too immense for us, for him to take that chance. We want him to play sports. If he wants to play basketball, if he wants to play baseball, if he wants to play tennis, go for it. But football is already off the list.
I think there's a lot of levels to that. It's the participation level when kids are younger. Like Arlo is so young, 4.5. It's early. I know some parents that have their kids in some sport. Usually it's soccer or something like that, or t-ball or something. I'm like, are you really? There's not much you can really get at that age. Like they can't really comprehend. Just work on the skills is what I wouldn't worry about playing in a game when they're 4, 5, or 6. But so he's got a lot of developing to do in his brain. What does he love to do? Right. And so I think all parents have to see that, which is why I think too, it's good to try a lot of things. Our model, I think, is still a little bit wacky right now with the travel sports and stuff and the specialization. But I think too, what I wonder when I think about Chris Johnson and ALS and all these things about football is something that Dave Winfield said years and years ago. Dave Winfield, famously, he's a baseball Hall of Famer, but he was drafted in the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA, all three. And he chose baseball. And one of the reasons was he thought baseball was the one that he could play the longest and stay the healthiest. And he says it to this day. And he probably was a good enough athlete to play any of the sports if he wanted to. But I wonder if some of the athletes, some of the premier athletes, as they get to the level of, you know what, I could probably do this in either of these sports, will any of them turn away from football? Because for years, with the spotlight of the NFL and the popularity of the game, the glare, that was the hardest thing for me when I gave up football and concentrated on basketball and baseball in high school. We had a great high school football team. We had the huge crowds on Friday night. That was the hardest thing for me to give up because that was the glare. That was the popular sport. Like, that's what everybody was watching. We didn't get the same kind of crowds at basketball and baseball. But I thought I wasn't quite as good. I didn't enjoy it quite as much. So I just wonder about that decision. It really didn't have to do with concussions or anything like that. But everybody's got their reasons. But football usually wins with the popularity of it. But I wonder how that will go as we learn more and more about the risks out there.
615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction on Chris Johnson's ALS diagnosis from earlier this week. I was curious what Derek Mason would say because, as he said so eloquently, he was blessed with the gifts to have a long career in the NFL. But the data out there is it's stark, and I do wonder how that will influence young people when it comes to playing football and their parents allowing them to play football. 615-737-1025. We'll continue this coming up next. There is another element of the story that has popped up, and I want to touch on that as well. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
All right, let's talk about our friends at Twice Daily. A lot of people, I'm sure, this weekend are going to be out and about, moving around, getting your stuff for the cookouts. Be careful with the fireworks, all of that stuff. But also remember Twice Daily. And you can get in a position where you can save quite a bit of money over the long haul if you make Twice Daily your go-to place when you need to stop off for that convenience stop. Because Twice Daily is fresh all day. They've got the rewards program. That is what we want to let you know. And this rewards program for Twice Daily is going to give you special discounts, savings, enter into sweepstakes, chance to win stuff, and a whole lot more. So it pays to be a member with Twice Daily. You're going to earn points and save money with every visit. So when you go to a convenience store, make it Twice Daily and tell them we sent you here on 102.5 The Game. Stop in and get rewarded. It's Twice Daily, fresh all day.
This was a peer research paper. It wound up appearing in multiple medical journals, was cited by the American Medical Association. Its findings are ironclad. So, look, there's a tie. And the thing about Strahan that I was thinking is you have Chris Johnson on this morning, And to me, if Michael Strahan were being genuinely inquisitive and genuinely at all journalistic, and I know he's not a journalist by training, but blah, 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 there are a couple of questions you have to ask. Number one, do you regret playing football? Looking at your life now, sitting here at 40, seeing the ties between football and AOS, the possibility that that game causes, if you could do it all over again, would you play? And maybe he says, no, I would do it. It was worth it, blah, blah. And maybe he says, no way I would do it. Either way, that's the money question of a reasonable interview.
That was veteran sports writer Jeff Pearlman, author, started his career here at the Tennessean.
Yes, he did.
Remarking on the interview that Michael Strahan had with Chris Johnson on Good Morning America. And I have a ton of respect for Pearlman and everything he's accomplished as a sports writer and author. I disagree with him there. I don't think Michael Strahan needs to press Chris Johnson in this interview on Good Morning America about, do you regret playing football? Like, that's not what Michael Strahan is there to do. Now, from a journalist's point of view, I certainly think those questions should be asked. But I don't have an issue with Strahan handling Johnson with kid gloves, for lack of a better term, in that sit down he had on Good Morning America. I don't think that was the purpose of that specific interview. Now, if other people want to conduct interviews with Chris Johnson in the future and ask him that question, that's fair game. But I don't have an issue with Strahan not asking that question the other day.
I think over time he'll probably get asked that. So I agree with you, Adam. I don't know if I have an issue, but I see Pearlman's point. And here's where I think Strahan, just this is straight up as a person who has done a lot of interviews. We do interviews on this show almost every day. And we always are asking ourselves, hey, what do I want to ask? What's a good question? And Derek, I think when you're a former player like Strahan is, you have the ability, I think, to connect with another former player. And I think Chris Johnson would probably entertain the question a lot more from Michael Strahan than he would Adam Vingan, Willy Donick, Connor Newt, right? Because
that's fair.
He knows that Michael Strahan has gone through the same risks. So I think there was a way for Strahan to ask that question without it being, do you regret it? You know, there's a tact,
like a gotcha moment.
Yeah, right. You don't have to do it like that. I think there's an empathetic way that Strahan could have done it that would not have had Chris Johnson bristling and saying, why are you asking me that question?
I'm sure Strahan thought about that question, and he thought about it a lot, because essentially, even in all that, that's the first thing people want to know. You know, would he do it over again? And listen, had the question been asked, nobody would have thought of it. Nobody would have thought of it.
Everybody said, hey, great question.
Just like a good question. Anybody would have asked the question. But because it wasn't asked, now there are some that say, well, why didn't he ask it? And he should have asked it. Listen, he understands that me asking Chris that question, I already know what the answer is.
Yeah, I think we know what CJ would have said.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, that's what Strahan is thinking. I know what he's going to say. And there are a lot of people out there that knows what he's going to say too. They just want to hear him say it. So I am not going to, bog him down with that question where he has to sit and give an explanation on, why he wish he wouldn't have or would have continued to play. Ask him about his, how did he find out about the diagnosis? What has his life been after that diagnosis? If he wants to, because I think there are times in within an interview that I may have a question, but you may answer it and I don't have to ask it, And if Chris wanted that to be a part of his story, he would have said it. But he doesn't want that to be a part of his story. You know why he doesn't want it to be a part of his story? Because more times than not, players, hockey, baseball, football, it doesn't matter. But I'm just talking about the two sports that are the most violent, hockey and football. We're going to choose, more than likely, a lot of guys are going to choose, I would play anyway.
Mm-hmm. And the other part of it, I think, is as much as the studies show that there is a tie-in, there's a possible tie-in to ALS and a long football career, you can't know with certainty that that's the reason that Chris Johnson has it. So this would be a hard thing, I think, for anybody who's in that moment. But I don't know if it's productive to look back for him or his family to say, I wish I could go back and not have played.
Because it's not like almost like a. It's just like it's nothing productive that comes out of that at this point, other than maybe, hey, what about your kids? What about other people that know you? They can make their own decision. But he made his decision. He had a great career, and he is where he is. It's a terrible, terrible situation he's in. But still, I think it's a great, thoughtful question to ask.
Well, that was the clean part of Perlman's comments that we could play on the show. He continued, here is a transcript via awful announcing. Quote, this is from Jeff Perlman. Chris Johnson is dying, and he showed up on Good Morning America to tell a story. And Michael Strahan, one of the great cowards on TV, in my opinion, sits there and pretends, oh, this is heartbreaking. It's so sad. I can't believe this is happening to you. It doesn't have the courage and the decency and the wherewithal to mention the ties between football and ALS. And that's because he's getting paid a bleep load of money not to. It's bleeping disgusting. End quote. See, that takes it too far for me personally.
He made it personal. That's what he did. That is all a personal thing. Maybe it's personal to Michael Strahan. You can tell by the tone and the tenor of the text and him calling him what he called him. That's personal. You just took it from being about Chris to now it being about you and Strahan.
Well,
good point.
Perlman
is like that.
But either way, I'm not gonna excuse it because he's like that.
No, I'm not defending Perlman. What I'm going to say is that Perlman has taken it upon himself to be like the media ombudsman of the entire internet,
right?
Where
he does this in a lot of different scenarios, not just stuff like this.
Right.
It's wide ranging.
Yes. So this is part of his shtick. But please continue.
Yeah, but he made it. I can understand him saying, "Hey, listen, that was a prime opportunity to ask a question, and you didn't ask it for whatever reason, but you then went and attacked the interviewer. You attacked him and made it about you and him now instead of about Chris. We all know what's happening with Chris Johnson. I'm not going to say he's dying. He's continuing to live. Let's get that straight first, Perlman. He's continuing to live. There are people that have lived with ALS for a very long time. Shaw is one of them. OJ Brigance is another that I know personally. So I look at it as him continuing to live, but it's in a different manner. You made that about you and Strahan. That's what you did. That's why I don't like that part. He was right in a sense of hey, listen, maybe it's something people want to know and you could have asked it. But the minute you went out of your way to call Strahan a name, you made it personal.
Someone on our YouTube chat on the ALS study numbers says those numbers are so negligible. So in 59 years, the study identified 38 players. Again, here from the study, 19,423 professional football players who played at least one or more NFL games during their careers were included in the study. The scientists went back to 1960. 38 players received a diagnosis of ALS between 1960 and 2019, and 10 of them were still living when the scientists finished their analysis by 2021. So 38 doesn't seem like a big number. I understand that, but you can't ignore the link between the two.
No, you can't ignore it. And I think the reason you can't ignore it and why it should be in the forefront of everybody's, at least that participates with the sport, that is involved in any way, they should stay in the forefront of your mind, is because, say, Chris Johnson, he has no history of ALS in his family, none whatsoever. So you can't say it's a genetic thing. So they're trying to figure out now, well, if it's not a genetic thing, what is it? That's the part they're trying to, figure out. Well, what about the guys that, doesn't have it in their family or may have not had played as long or wasn't at a, quote unquote physical position? Why is it that they have, maybe it's a combination of playing in high school, playing in Little League, in all those years together mounted up, that may be something they can sort of try to figure out. But that's why I tell parents, listen, if you're asking me, don't let your kid play tackle football until he's basically in high school. Don't. All the rest of that stuff is a money grab. I'm talking about fundamentals. That's all. Because when you get in Little League, I'm going to tell you what you see. You see one guy that can run faster than everybody else and outrunning everybody else. You see one guy that's bigger than everybody else. Why do you think they put a
weight limit?
Weight limit. Because people had kids that were 100 pounds bigger than the kids that were trying to tackle them. So what you see is a bunch of guys running around. You're trying to convince them to do one thing. They ain't doing it. They may get it at times, but to them, it's just fun. If you want to teach the fundamentals of football, do not put your kid in tackle football until they're basically in high school. That's why flag football has become so popular, because it teaches them fundamentals.
615-737-1025 will continue to take your reaction to this. Plus, we will look ahead to the World Cup, and we do have to say goodbye to someone who brought us a lot of joy over the past few weeks. Or if you're like me, you think he's a plant and wasn't real to begin with. We'll discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingen and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen here with you. Here's something interesting. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce will have their wedding at Madison Square Garden on Friday night. According to a law enforcement official briefed on the security plans.
Friday night?
Friday night.
Was that guy supposed to spill the beans there?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
Friday night?
Could have gotten himself in trouble with the NYPD.
Friday night. What are you doing on Friday night?
Mm-hmm.
Want to go to a wedding? I don't think you can get in.
I don't think they're selling tickets, are they?
No. Something just seems kind of odd about Taylor Swift getting married at Madison Square Garden, but I get the security protocols, everything like that. But just it doesn't seem very romantic, you know?
Not really. Well, I'm sure
The ambiance.
they'll make it look good.
I'm sure, you know, they both have a couple of extra, you know, coins to throw around, but that's not what we were supposed to talk about. It just popped into my head when I saw it on the timeline. All right. World Cup action tonight. The U.S. men's national team in action against Bosnia-Herzegovina. A 7 p.m. start. That game at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, or in the FIFA wording, San Francisco Bay Area Stadium.
We name the stadiums what we want to name them.
Right. I guess FIFA can't use the names.
The corporate sponsor, I guess. Yeah,
whatever. Anyway, we'll see what happens, of course. If the U.S. men's national team wins, they would face the winner of Senegal and Belgium. Senegal leading 2-0 late in the second half. Now, you tell me, because I'm not a soccer expert, would that be an upset? Senegal defeating Belgium?
I think a slight upset. I don't know if it's a big upset, but Belgium, I think, is a team that's been sort of circled, if I've followed closely enough, a lot of upside, but they've sort of underperformed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the African teams have collectively done pretty well. I think better than some expected. Like Morocco has won. Ivory Coast put a big scare into England earlier today, and Senegal's got the lead here. So maybe not a huge upset, but worth noting, and I'm sure a lot of USA fans are watching closely. But first things first, Coach Willy says, focus tonight on Bosnia-Herzegovina.
They are a 1.5 goals favorite.
1.5 goal favorite? Yeah.
USA.
They played really well. Now, beware of the sports books. This is something that I've been reading about. It just happened to pop up on the feed that I was reading, I think on ESPN. But so many people are betting so much money that a lot of the sports books are kind of like leveraged. And so many people who probably aren't even soccer fans are just like betting on the USA. Like, I think that affects the line, right? Just the excitement that US is playing so well. Like, I want to bet on the USA. But that probably affects the betting odds, right?
It could.
I am not a gambling man.
But I'm not either. But I think when you go to a horse track, the odds change based on who's betting on who, and the goofballs. Like I had a very famous person, not famous, but a high end person that I had.
They're famous to you, Willie.
I don't know if that's the right word, but this guy was the owner of this racetrack, and I was just the dumb guy saying, "Hey, number 3, I'll put $2 on number 3 just at the racetrack." He's like, there's like 1% of our clientele here that are making money off of doughheads like you, because you guys don't know what you're doing. I was like, "Yep, that's me. I don't know what I'm doing."
Pretty much,
but it affects the odds. If I bet on number 3, that goes into the mix. I think that happens on a bigger scale.
Willy Donick. Doughhead.
Sports better.
Doughhead Donick. There's your new nickname. Doughhead Donick.
Seems more offensive than anything else I've ever heard someone called.
Yeah, that's
saying something.
Doughhead. I like that one. One country no longer in the World Cup, Germany. And as we discussed yesterday, this Freddie guy.
Speaking of doughhead,
he's probably making a lot of dough. This viral sensation. Listen to this story. Again, courtesy of Awful Announcing. Freddie, or @FreddieLA7, as his handle would read, became the viral sensation of this World Cup a wide-eyed German youngster. Freddie gained a seemingly organic, in parentheses, following in the lead up to the World Cup by posting his travels throughout the United States, discovering the innocent joys of late-night Taco Bell, diverse landscapes, and Ella Langley as he and his German buddies traversed the country. But now, fewer than 24 hours after Germany's defeat, Freddie's account is nowhere to be found. It appears as if Germany's early exit from the World Cup officially broke Freddie.
So I guess he didn't stay.
Freddie deleted his Twitter.
I wonder how many followers he had.
A lot. Man. This screenshot has 752,800 followers for Freddie on X. Awful announcing continues. The Freddie saga has inspired some wild conspiracy theories. Some found his positive outlook too pure to be true, questioning if he was some sort of plant designed to engage in guerrilla marketing tactics for the brands, people, or even states that he was posting about. I believe in that one. Others thought the anonymous Freddie was some sort of social experiment designed to play out in front of hordes of social media followers.
Well, I guess.
But now, Freddie is gone.
He was just invited to the White House, too.
He was invited to the White House.
But they don't know who Freddie is. Well, I guess the White House does.
Well,
I guess
I still believe
either or they would have accomplished their mission. Either he was a plan or he tried to. Either way, it accomplished the mission.
I mean, look, it's like that episode of The Simpsons with Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie. Freddie did all of the things he was supposed to do, and at the end said, "I have to go now. My planet needs me," and he just disappeared. That's what happened with Freddie. Apparently, someone dug up a tweet from him from a long time ago where he claimed to have been to the U.S. before. It's like, see, he's lying. This is not some wide-eyed German tourist who's never been to the U.S. before. He's been here before.
But then they went on and explained, had he been here? Well, I guess he had. But maybe he hadn't been to those certain places.
Well, you know what? Our resident soccer correspondent, Nick Frazier, has sent me a statement from Freddie.
What if Nick is Freddie?
What if Nick could be Freddie?
I hadn't thought about that one.
See, Nick wants you to think he's all Italian and stuff, but he's actually German this whole time.
Man.
Freddie said, "Hey, everyone, just wanted to let you know why I deactivated my account. This was the plan all along, even before we started the World Cup trip." Sure, Freddie. Too many people seem to have a problem with us having a genuinely good time here in the country, and this is ruining the fun a bit for us because we really just wanted to document our road trip and never expected that people would have a problem with it. People are digging into my 22,000 posts to find a handful of, in their opinion, controversial posts and post them without zero context to make me look like a bad person.
That sounds just like Nick.
That
I can hear
like
Nick saying that. I can hear Nick. I hear his voice.
So he's posting this as if he's a real person. But the net result is that quotes Freddie, the account. He's no longer. So this could be a theme song. He could have played in the background. He could have said the account is over, and so Curtis Mayfield could have jumped in with this here. This is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
Freddie's dead.
Freddie's gone.
The account, Freddie. Maybe
the
not the
account.
real person, but the account it's no more.
It's over.
But look, I
just love the groove of that song. Bonum, bump, bonum. I think the People's Court stole that from Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah.
Instead of bonum, bump, it's boodum, bump.
Oh,
They just slowed it down.
Bonum, bump.
are we doing
Spread it
the
out.
Vanilla Ice? Are we doing the Vanilla Ice under pressure thing here?
Oh, no.
Are you aware of this one?
Oh, yeah.
Because Vanilla Ice and
Oh, he
Ice
got
Ice
sued,
Baby
yeah.
samples Under Pressure by is it Queen and David Bowie?
Yes.
And his response was like, "There's one
Slight difference.
yes.
Yeah, right. That didn't fly.
It's way different.
Like he was like their song is like da na 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 na, and mine is like na 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 na.
Right, it's
na 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 na.
Oh, there's a bigger
one note.
Nah.
One note's different. Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
Oh, okay.
I mean, he still gets to perform the song, right?
Yeah.
So that's okay.
They
But
paid-
He has like a
paid
home
the price.
improvement show now,
And
too.
did Freddie send Nick that or Freddie posted that?
Freddie posted that.
Oh,
You think?
okay.
Do you think Nick knows Freddie?
I think Freddie is Nick. And
You
Nick
think
is Freddie.
Freddie is Nick?
Yeah, Nick is Freddie.
It's like J. Jonah Jameson trying to figure out who Spider-Man is.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
This is.
Yep.
Well, R.I.P. to RIP to Freddie's account. One texter says, I almost forgot. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day to Willie.
Oh,
We've mentioned it.
We
once or
covered it,
twice.
but okay. I thank you.
How do Mets fans like celebrate? Do you have like a cupcake or something?
No, I mean they're losing 9-2 right now in the 8th
It's
inning.
It's going
Oh,
great.
no.
It's going
It's
great
going
for the
great,
Mets.
Willie.
Yeah.
Oh, since I looked, Belgium tied the game. Look at that.
two
Yeah,
quick
2-2.
goals. And
Wow.
now and that was hit the post right there. Senegal was trying to go back ahead.
At the beginning of the segment, it was 2-0 Senegal. Now it's 2-2.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
We got drama.
I just had my head down and I look, oh my goodness. Willie, you should do a study on how many times did the Mets lose on Bobby Bonilla Day?
That's a good question.
That's it. What's their record on Bobby
Bobby
Bonilla
Bonilla
since
Day,
they made
yeah.
that deal? It's a great question.
I mean, it could be worse. One texter points out the Cubs defeated the Padres today, 23-3.
That's what you're
Yes.
talking about, Willie.
And the
It was like
former Commodore,
23.
Dansby Swanson, 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. He's got 16. Dansby Swanson has had a huge week or so, a couple at the Mets' expense. Cubs are playing good ball. Much more fun to be a Cubs fan than a Mets fan right now.
I'm sure it is.
615-737-1025. I don't know how real this is, but I found it on Reddit, so be careful. From a year ago, the Mets have won 6 of their last 7 Bobby Bonilla Day games, including their last 3. So it would be 6 out of 8, I guess.
It's going to be 6 out of 8,
Oh.
barring a huge comeback.
But hey, they win.
They
They
are
win.
7-5 on July 1st since 2011.
Okay.
All right.
Soon to be
Bobby-
7 and 6.
They need to
unfortunately.
celebrate Bobby Bonilla Day then.
They need to
At the
bring him
ballpark.
in.
Exactly.
They need to bring him in. Have they brought him in to throw out the first pitch on Bobby Bonilla Day at any point?
Not that I'm aware of.
They need to embrace it.
I can't swear that they have not, but I don't remember it happening. I feel like that would be a big story if
Is
they
he
did
still
that.
in the area?
Bobby Bo?
Yeah.
Well, he grew up in New York.
Yeah. Is he still in the, he still lives there?
I don't know. It's a good question. He played for a lot of teams,
Mhm.
made a lot of money, still getting
Yeah.
checks,
You'll get
as
that
we know.
check.
So I don't know. He could probably have multiple residences, I would
Yeah.
say.
615-737-1025. We will get back into NHL free agency. The Predators made one NHL signing today. They also made one notable trade this morning. We will break that down. Chris McFarland, Predators president and GM, is expected to address reporters momentarily, so we will keep you abreast of what he says. I know a lot of you out there like the word abreast for some
Just
reason.
going to drop this in right now. You have not given a word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Inconsistent?
This is a great. Today's word of the day is nabob.
Nabob.
Nabob is a very rich or important person, such as Bobby Bonilla.
Nabob.
He is a nabob.
I thought you said napalm.
No, nabob. Nabob. He is a nabob. It's nabob.
Nabob.
Okay.
Bobby Nabob Bonilla.
How about Bobby Bonilla?
Nabobby Bonilla.
Oh,
Okay,
there
that's got
we
a good
go.
ring. Yeah.
Bobby Bonilla Day.
615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful first day of July as we approach the 250th birthday of America. You don't look a day over 249. And I did hear Joe Rexroad, I think this was this morning. It may have been yesterday morning. I think it was yesterday morning. His Rex rant on fireworks. And I could not agree more. The one thing I dislike about our wonderful nation's birthday is how many people ignite fireworks well past the time you should be igniting fireworks. I think there should be a confined period of time when it is socially acceptable to light fireworks on the 4th of July.
How about before the 4th? Because I heard people lighting them off like a week ago, and I'm like, what are you doing?
That whoever that person is a terrible person.
Well, I just wanted to know.
So to me, here's the range.
Okay.
Starting the evening of July 3rd.
Okay.
If you want to light fireworks the night before, I think that's acceptable.
See, I'm not down with that, but okay.
I'll allow it. I'll allow some
the
wiggle
night
room.
before.
I'll allow some wiggle room. July 4th, go nuts. Midnight on July 4th into July 5th, it's over.
Yes, I'm with you.
Anyone who lights fireworks after July 4th,
You have a problem.
I've got a problem.
See, I want full containment into July 4th. And I also question big time people who start lighting them up before it's dark. Like sometimes you ever have that? It's like, especially if I've been in the Eastern time zone, it's getting dark a little later. People at like 8 o'clock, it's not even close to being dark, but you hear this pop, 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 pop.
Usually that's
like what good is that? You can't see the action.
I side with Willie. You get one night.
One night only.
You are more hard line
one night
than I
only,
am.
darkness only. That's me.
Okay.
Nothing past the 4th.
Definitely. We agree on that.
I will allow the night of the 3rd.
Why are you allowing the night of the 3rd?
Because you're celebrating the 4th
well, if it's a baseball game or something.
As it's approaching, you know?
That's the exemption I'll get. Like if you're at your favorite baseball team's game.
Such as First Horizon Park?
Yeah.
Maybe. If the team's home on Friday and they don't have a home game Saturday or something like that, that's cool.
But at night, not on a 3rd, light a couple of fireworks, man. Let the kids celebrate for a second, you know?
It's like opening your presents Christmas Eve. You don't do that.
Some people let their kids open one present on Christmas Eve. Don't you do that?
I'm not cool with that. I don't like that.
With the birthdays?
I think we allow Eliza's never experienced Christmas before, and my in-laws celebrate Christmas. I think we might allow one small gift on Christmas Eve.
See? That's what I'm saying. Some families
I think
do
you
that.
hold out.
Light a firecracker or two on the eve of 4th of July. It's cool, man.
Give the kids a sparkler, and that's it.
Sparklers, I'll allow sparklers.
But like, I've got an 8-year-old dog that is nervous as hell. I've got a 4-month-old, and if you're lighting fireworks on July 7th, it's like the whole thing with Larry David and saying Happy New Year. Derek,
that's different.
Derek thinks you can say Happy New Year in March if you haven't seen the person all year long.
I wouldn't do it, but if somebody said, "Hey, Happy New Year," I hadn't seen you in a while, I'd be like, "Okay, cool, Happy New Year to you, to you as well."
One texter says the 5th is when you get the cheap fireworks. That should be fine. It's not fine.
That's not fine.
No, you can buy them and save them for next July 4th. Get a discount. Get ahead on your fireworks shopping.
It's like putting up new decorations on the 26th of December.
I don't. I wouldn't prescribe to keeping fireworks for a year in your garage. Nah. Mm-mm.
So that's my spiel. I agree with Rex.
I agree with you. Thursday, the 3rd at night, and then the 4th go crazy.
Oh man,
Willie, you're a hard line. You're kind of hard. I would expect it from you, Willie, because you get off my lawn, guy. You've approached that sort of kinda. But Connor, come on, Connor.
Spend a month with the guy and you turn into him.
Oh man, well, okay. I know not to light my firecrackers.
Cole says, you guys sound like a real fun group to be around with the fireworks comments. We are a fun group. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I love the fireworks on the 4th of July. I'm good with that.
Cole also says, are you all streaming the Chris McFarland news conference? We are not, but we are keeping an eye on it. Here are some comments from Chris McFarland, courtesy of Brooks Bratton of Predators.com. The big trade today, the Predators made this morning, they acquired 24-year-old forward Maverick Bourque from the Dallas Stars. And according to Brooks Bratton, Chris McFarland says, quote, "We intend to give Bourque every shot at playing in the middle," end quote. He is a natural center who played a lot of wing in Dallas because of the depth that the Stars have at center. McFarland also said he's been in contact with Bourque's agent. He won't comment on the negotiations, but says we do want to get a contract signed as soon as possible. Bourque is a restricted free agent who needs a new deal after this morning's trade with Dallas. McFarland also said, according to Brooks Bratton of NashvillePredators.com, quote, "Checking is not going to be an option here," end quote. McFarland says one of the best ways to earn a Predators jersey is, quote, "players who can earn trust and check and play good defense." So we will continue to monitor that. But let's, okay, Willie, go ahead.
On the specific contract for Maverick Bourque, they should be able to work this out. And if somebody technically could give him an offer sheet, and you would have to choose to match it. And I'm sure they would. They have plenty of cap space. They're not in danger of losing Maverick Bourque if you're wondering about the new contract. I did wonder, though, Adam, if they had already sort of agreed before the trade happened on terms of a new deal, because sometimes you do see that. But that apparently is not the case.
And the long-term projection on his contract is 5 years with a cap hit just under $6 million per year, which I do think would be a reasonable contract for Maverick Bourque.
And would you say, I wouldn't be shocked if they want the full 7 or 8 years for a player of his age?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. But I do think that that's the ballpark, right? 5 times between 5 and 6. That would fall right in line of why we set the table on this yesterday. Right at this time yesterday, we were talking to Elliot Friedman specifically about Bourque, and he said, "Oh yeah, the Stars are very worried that somebody could offer sheet him." And we, as a show, were saying the Predators could make that type of offer. They could put the pressure on the Stars, and sure enough, they did, because the compensation of a contract of that area would have been a first and a third round pick, and instead, the Predators avoid having to trade the Stars a first round pick, which was a huge pickup. Instead, it's a second and a third, and they take on a contract in Ilya Lyubushkin that Dallas really didn't want. They wanted to clear the decks of that contract to create a little bit more cap space, which is why Dallas was in this dilemma. Sorry, they did not want to give up Maverick Bourque, but they had no choice because they were not going to be able to match an offer sheet that the Predators could have offered. So instead, it's Lyubushkin, a serviceable defenseman, and they give up a second and third, a third-round pick that they got in exchange for Cole Smith. So they get a guy that is in the age range and the skill set that they really coveted.
And that, to me, is why I think this was shrewd business by Chris McFarland. The Predators have desperately needed a young player with top 6 potential who has shown he can play in a top 6 in the NHL. And that is what Maverick Bourque has done. This past season, played all 82 games for the Dallas Stars, had 20 goals, 41 points. 20 goals, 41 points in 82 games. His top line mate was Jason Robertson. And we just talked about last week, the Seattle Kraken offered Jason Robertson approximately $15 million per season, and he turned it down. That's how highly coveted and highly skilled Jason Robertson is. And Maverick Bourque's number 1 line mate at even strength last season for the Dallas Stars was Jason Robertson. So you know that Bourque can play with highly talented players. And he has shown in his young career that he has potential to be a big point producer. We don't know exactly what he's going to end up being, but the fact is, you now have a player alongside Luke Evangelista. When Philip Forsberg gets older and Steven Stamkos moves on and Ryan O'Reilly moves on, and you're wondering, okay, who could potentially fill the voids in the Predators' top 6? Who are the young guys on the team who can take that step? Now you have Maverick Bourque in that conversation. To me, before the acquisition of Bourque, I probably would have only said Luke Evangelista. But now you have Bourque as well. And the other thing I really like about the other thing I really like about this deal, and Willie, you brought it up, is McFarland weaponized the Predators' cap space in order to make this happen. There was a report out there. I can't remember who had it. Maybe I can find it. There was a report that the Flyers were also very interested in Maverick Bourque, but the Flyers reportedly were not willing to take on Lyubushkin's contract to make the trade work. The Predators said, we've got the cap space. We'll take it on. And they got a better deal out of it. They did not have to give up a first-round pick to acquire a player like Maverick Bourque. So for all of those reasons, I do think that this was a good deal. Another update from Chris McFarland, courtesy of Brooks Bratton. President of Hockey Ops GM Chris McFarland on if there's a chance he may look to make some more moves with a wealth of forwards and defensemen at the moment on the roster. Maybe, ... maybe.
I think it's a good bet. I think it's a good bet that they, especially on defense, they have some flexibility. They still have plenty of cap space, still have a lot of draft capital, so they can flex and do some things that not everybody can do.
A blockbuster NBA trade.
Oh wow,
Sham Charania, my guy, he got right to the point this time.
Oh good,
blockbuster. The Boston Celtics have agreed to trade Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks.
Goodness.
They get an aging player in Paul George. 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders?
Jaylen Brown for Paul George, 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders.
And I'm sure one of the picks, is at 2040 or beyond in the year. Because they tend to do that in the NBA. These are like sometimes distant picks. It always cracks me up.
I mean, Philly got better. I'm not sure if Boston got better, at least not in the short term.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Paul George guy.
Yeah, he's
had some serious injuries.
Yeah.
He's aging.
He doesn't do it for me. He's a good player.
That's interesting.
So Sham Charania reports the Boston Celtics have agreed to trade Jaylen Brown to the 76ers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. Back to the Predators. Scott in Shelbyville says, can we talk about Alex Kerfoot? Trotz caught 14 degrees of crap for not giving Kemmel and the younger players opportunities. He deserves a bunch of crap for this. I assume he means McFarland? I don't know who he is in this text, Scott. Maybe you can clarify. But the one signing the Predators did make today, Alex Kerfoot, 2 years, $7 million total, $3.5 million per season. Kerfoot is 31. He'll turn 32 in about a month. He's been in the NHL now for 9 seasons. He's bounced around the league a little bit. He would have overlapped with McFarland at the beginning of his career in Colorado. So there is some familiarity there. But, I mean,
I see Kerfoot as another guy like an Eric Halla, like a Colton Sissons, like a Calle Yarncroke, who can play pretty much any position that you need him to play. And it gives you good versatility. And as we've looked, he's younger than Halla, the guy that he's part of the role he's replacing. And his underlying data it's very encouraging, right? He played for Utah last year, and he only played about a half a season, but his underlying numbers are better than his counting stats numbers, right? You're not going to be blown away by his goals and assists.
He's not the only player who they've acquired who fits that bill. Ross Colton, as well as Jack Drury.
But let's get to the texter's question, because it's a good one.
And Scott has clarified, yes, he means McFarland deserves a bunch of crap for signing Alex Kerfoot.
Right, because I think there's a lot of people that have been hearing about Joachim Kemmel and Reed Schaefer and Zach LaRue for a couple of years now. And we've made this point. Chris McFarland comes in with no attachment to any of these guys. He didn't draft these guys. So there's nothing riding for him on whether those guys succeed in Nashville or they end up being pieces that are used to get other guys. In fact, it's pretty clear that he's gone for several players that he has a history with, right? That's a big theme. So I do think on notice are Joachim Kemmel, Reed Schaefer, especially. Those are the two that I circled that I think their roles now. And Ann Kay, who I think does a really good job of asking questions in these scrums. She's had some things on her Twitter. She's with Penalty Box Radio. she asked, I don't know if she asked it, but this is a quote from McFarland on the young player development. McFarland said, they've got to cook. We want them to break the door down. In other words, we're not going to give these guys a role just because they were first-round picks or they're prospects, right? They have to earn it. And, Derek, we made the parallel to a guy like Traylon Burks. Once you reach a certain stage and it's not a no-brainer that you belong on the team, like you start to lose a little shine, even if you were a first-round pick. They still would love to see you bust in there and prove that you belong, but they can't wait forever. So I think that's what they've done with Schaefer and Kemmel here.
Yeah, you have to, because then, the ultimate way I think to know if you have a player or not is to put him up against competition. And if he doesn't, show that he's the better player or he isn't developing, then after so many years, he's not your guy. And I think this is what McFarland is doing. He's creating competition. Every coach out there do it, whether they say it or not. But he's creating competition with younger guys that have been on this team for a minute, but needs to show that they can take that next step. Because if you can't take that next step, we're moving on from you.
Right. Just they've flashed. Both Kemmel and Schaefer have flashed some ability, but it hasn't taken out. And they're still young enough to where it could happen. But now I think they're going to have to bull their way into the lineup more than just being carved out of space on there. I also think Adam, Brady Martin should be part of the discussion here too. What these moves mean for Brady Martin.
Quickly, one texter says, does our depth at forward prospects put us in a position to make a move for Zach Werenski? Well, the Columbus Blue Jackets within the past hour put out a statement from Zach Werenski saying he wants to stay in Columbus. So for now, it appears Werenski is staying put. 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your reaction to NHL free agency, but specifically the acquisition via trade of Maverick Bourque from Dallas earlier today. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game, Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, reacting to everything that's happening in sports right now. A gigantic blockbuster in the NBA. Jaylen Brown being traded from the Celtics to the Sixers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. That's a formidable lineup for the 76ers. Maxey, Edgecombe, Brown, and Embiid.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Now Embiid needs to stay healthy.
Well, that's a big if.
You're
But
right.
yeah, Paul, like I said before, Paul George doesn't really do it for me. Like,
Not anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just not that player. Not
Yes.
that guy. Still can get you a bucket, but not like he used to. So
well, that's something. Let's get back to the reaction to NHL free agency and the Predators. 615-737-1025. One texter says, I think we need to come to terms with the fact that David Poyle's final draft years were not good, and these guys coming up just aren't that promising. Now that it's outside eye saying this, it makes more sense. And we've documented this. None of the Predators' first-round picks between 2016 and 2021, none of them are part of the organization anymore. Dante Fabro is gone. Ellie Tolvanen is gone. And by the way, still unsigned, Ellie Tolvanen, a free agent, Willie. Still
Interesting.
No contract for Ellie Tolvanen. He's gone. Philip Tomasino, gone. He signed like a 2-way contract with some team today. So his career has not gone according to plan. Yaroslav Askarov was traded, of course. And then Fedor Svechkov and Zachary LaRue were traded last week for Jack Drury. And we talked about Kemmel, the 2022 first-round draft pick. He's on notice, to borrow your word, Willie. So, I mean, look, during that stretch of time, the Predators were drafting late in the first round because they were still being competitive back then. And when you're drafting in the latter half of the first round, it's harder to find those franchise caliber players. But yeah, certainly the Predators are where they are because a lot of those players I just mentioned did not pan out here.
No question. There's no way around it. They've drafted NHL players, but not those breakthrough difference makers. And forget about just the first rounders. It's all of the draft picks. If you don't have a good first rounder, but you make it up by having a great second or third rounder, that's one thing. Evangelista is the one, and Matt Wood, they look like the two guys recently that look like they've got something, right? Evangelista looks like he's on his way to being a very good NHL player. We'll see where it goes. And I do think that is one to watch because he's now eligible for an extension. So do the Predators want to extend Luke Evangelista? They don't have to do it today because he's under contract for this coming year at $3 million. But we've talked about the market and how quickly it's changing. Bowen Byram is now the highest paid defenseman in the league at 12.5. Alex Tuck, a good player, makes 10.5. So Luke Evangelista is going to get a raise. So do the Predators try to get him now or wait a whole nother year when the cap goes up another $9 million or something, and he potentially could be a restricted free agent? I wonder what their plan is there. But these are all things to think about. But back to the point, there's no question. They have not hit on draft picks like they did in the previous decade when they had a number of non-first round picks that turned into excellent players for them.
One other quote from Chris McFarland, courtesy of Brooks Bratton, quote, if we can improve the team, we're going to try to do it. It's going to require some creativity, and it may require some tough decisions in moving some players you wouldn't normally look to move in order to improve key areas of the ice. I think defending the middle of the ice, you've got to be strong in those positions, and for us, we don't feel like we're strong enough yet in those areas.
You know what? When I look at the roster now, remember at the trade deadline last year, and of course, they were sellers. You had this question being asked every night. Who in the heck is going to play center? What do you do if you're Andrew Burnett? You almost didn't have enough centers to fill out the lineup. Because remember, it got reported after the deadline that there was almost a deal that would have had Eric Halla go out the door. But that fell through, and he stayed. So that gave them just enough to get by. And they almost snuck in there to the playoffs. Now you look at the centers, and you're looking at O'Reilly, Matt Wood, Maverick Bork, Jack Drury, Adam Edstrom, Ross Colton, Alex Kerfoot. So now you have a lot of versatility there. Now you have depth if you have injuries. And I didn't even include Steven Stamkos, who can certainly play center too if needed, but it's not the preferred position for him. So now you have options there. Now if you're a coaching staff, if you're Andrew Burnett, said, okay, now I got some things I can do here to flex my lineup.
Jeff on our text line says, the only thing that makes me nervous is the same thing that Trotz was guilty of doing. Too much, too fast. That and Kerfoot, they had enough forwards before signing him as the permanent healthy scratch. Well,
that's I don't know if I would say that for Kerfoot. Permanent healthy scratch?
No, I wouldn't say that either. But to me, and I said this the day after the Predators, or maybe it was the day of, the Predators hiring McFarland. The one thing I really like about the hiring, I mean, there are a couple of things I really like, but one thing that stood out to me was he has zero emotional attachment to anybody on this team. I mean, he did sign Jack Drury. He likes Jack Drury. But my point, this was my point at the time. He has zero attachment to any player on the team. And I think that was important because although Trotz came back to the organization after being gone for, 10 years, he still had an attachment to the Nashville Predators. He still had an attachment to Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg. Like, there will always be an emotional attachment for Barry Trotz with the Nashville Predators. Chris McFarland doesn't have that. So he brings in these players, and if there are prospects who aren't ready, or who such as Fedor Svechkov and Zachary Leroux, they'll be gone. Like, McFarland is giving himself as many options as he can. Like, this roster is going to continue to turn over the coming weeks and in the lead up to the season. Like, what you see right now, probably not going to be the finished product. But the fact that McFarland has zero emotional attachment to anybody on this team, I don't think he's done. And I think he's giving himself a lot of options.
I don't think he's done. They have extra guys. They could move somebody out. How often over the last couple years have we speculated on maybe something like Jonathan Marchessault? So I'm very curious about, as you said, in the backdrop of he's new, Rob Blake's new, Jamie Langenbrug's new. They might look at Jonathan Marchessault so differently than the people that have been there and watched Marchessault as a Predator the last couple years. I'm sure coming in, there's got to be some thinking of, what the heck has gone wrong with this guy? This guy was a great player up until he got here. Why hasn't it worked? But now they have the flexibility of, if they want to give him a new chance in a different role, they could do that. They could keep him around. They could also, if he's agreeable, look to shop him around. And if you erased him from the roster, you still probably have enough to make a go of it with the guys that you've brought in. So that's the type of flexibility. And I'm still looking at the defense core as an area that I think they could reshape some between now and the start of the season.
One texter on our previous conversation about fireworks. My dogs have always suffered on firework holidays. And of course, I empathize with our service members who are affected by the fireworks. But dang, I bet y'all are fun at parties. Party poopers. I mean, I am fun at a party. I don't get invited to many parties, and maybe that's why I'm considered a party pooper, but I am fun at parties. All we were saying, and don't look, the biggest stickler of all is Willy Donick. He said you're only allowed to ignite fireworks on July 4th and only at nighttime. I gave you the evening of July 3rd.
He did.
I gave you the evening of July 3rd. I provided some wiggle room. Willy, hardline, July 4th only.
I said go wild on the 4th. And I've given an exemption to ballparks. Baseball parks on Friday night are fine. You're okay at the baseball park. I'm saying in the neighborhood and stuff. Don't be doing that on July 3rd.
In his defense, I endorse this.
But kids like it, man.
Do they though?
Sparklers are okay. Sparklers are okay.
Scott and Waverly says, out here where I live, people shoot fireworks all year long, but my closest neighbor is 2 miles away. You guys do sound like old guys, LOL. We'll speak for the two of them. I'm not even 40 yet. But look, if you live where there's more land, that's fine. I mean, my next door neighbor lives like 6 feet from my house. All right. So it's a little bit different on my side of town.
I want my neighbors shooting off fireworks all day on the 3rd and all day on the 5th. With addition to the 4th, no.
I mean, I also have a hard line when it comes to what is considered Christmas season. Like, to me, if you start celebrating Christmas, or well, not celebrating Christmas, if you start putting up Christmas decorations like the day after, like November 1st, like, no, that's Thanksgiving erasure. Like, to me, you can't start putting up Christmas decorations until Black Friday. That's all I'm saying. So, whatever. 615-737-1025. We are not party poopers, okay? Invite us to one of your parties. We will be the life of the party. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. The game is on mute, so I don't know what's going on, but there seems to be a lot happening in this Belgium-Senegal World Cup match right now.
Well, Belgium has just been awarded a penalty kick. Very borderline. It went to video review. Both teams have been all over the one ref. The poor ref is just like, can you guys get out of my personal space so I can figure this out?
What's wrong with this dude on the floor?
Well, I don't know if he's acting like somebody.
Okay, what happened?
Now, let's see.
Here it is. Let's see.
Let's see if this is a classic soccer
You make
embellishment.
the call.
Oh, he got a little elbow to the ribs, and that hurt. Oh, that hurt. Oh.
What a sell.
Yeah, he's
brutal.
brutal. Yeah.
Come on.
It was a reaction, a delayed reaction.
It was a little bit of an elbow, but come on.
Yeah.
He sold that elbow like Kramer selling Keith
The coffee?
Hernandez
Oh.
spitting on him. I'm hit!
Man.
Head goes all the way back.
But this is very late in extra time. So if Belgium makes this, it's pretty much over.
And Belgium, if Belgium wins and the U.S. wins, that's your
That's who
matchup.
you would play. Yeah.
U.S. versus Belgium. All right. It's high drama. Let's see how it goes.
See how this thing ends.
And of course, where the guy went down for Senegal is right where you're supposed to be kicking it from. So they got to get him out of there before they can finish this.
All right, get up. Get up.
Yeah.
Can you please move?
This dude, he got elbowed in the chest a little, but he's down there like he's like.
He's up. He's up and at
Oh,
him
he's
now.
up.
He's okay now.
All right.
While we're waiting, Travis on our text line says, I think the funniest part about the free agent acquisitions, trades, signings, etc., is that a ton of Nashville fans seem to hold draft to the same value as, say, the NFL. In the NFL, first-round draft pick, you've got a really good shot to get a really good player. Not the same. Also, next party, I'm going. You're invited, Adam. Well, thank you, Travis.
There you go. Here we go.
All right.
PK.
Belgium's lining up for the kick.
He's
Look
lining
at
up.
that. Look at the stare.
There's
Here
a
he
hot-
goes. He got it.
The Belgians.
The Belgians likely are going to win it on that.
Yes.
They were down 2-0 late in this game.
They did not waffle on that penalty kick.
No.
No, they didn't.
Anyone else like Belgian waffles? Anybody?
Yeah, they're good.
Nice.
It took
I
Willy
love it.
just a second to get that. I thought you got it immediately.
I didn't.
Who doesn't love a
Gosh.
Belgian waffle? Well, we'll see if
Well.
the Belgians can hold on here. And again, if the Belgians win and the U.S. wins coming up in a couple of hours, it would be the United States versus Belgium in the next round of the World Cup. Oh, he's cracking that neck. He's ready. That's the World Cup has been fun. For someone who does not watch soccer basically for 4 years at a time, the World Cup has been quite good.
Oh, man. It's been awesome.
One texter says A+ dad joke from Vingen there. I mean, just saying.
Man.
I am a dad. I am a dad after all. A lot happening today in the NHL. Lots of signings. The Predators make a trade. A blockbuster in the NBA. Jaylen Brown traded to the 76ers from the Celtics for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. We've got an offer sheet in the NHL, which rarely happens. Not a huge one. The New Jersey Devils have offer sheeted Barrett Hayton from the Utah Mammoth. 1 year, $4.775 million. Utah would receive a second-round pick as compensation if it doesn't match. But there was an offer sheet.
Yeah, I think with where Utah is going, I think the theme of Utah is it's time to win. They had a taste of it last season, and that's a team in the Predators division. So that's a team that is moving forward with the arrow pointing up, trying to get in the window. So it's a deep, deep division. So if the Predators are improved on the margins, I think they could be in the mix. But the pathway to the playoffs has been made tougher because the Central has already been loaded, and now it might even be arguably tougher this coming year unless one of the big three take a step back. Fair to say?
Yes.
One other thing we didn't really answer, and so Adam, I'd love to hear your take on it, is what does this mean for Brady Martin with the extra guys going forward here?
Well, now the Predators do not have to toss Brady Martin into the deep end. And I'm not sure if this has been finalized or not, but there has been discussion about allowing 19-year-olds to play in the AHL, which hasn't been allowed. So if if that rule goes into effect and Brady Martin is eligible to play in the AHL, that would be big for the Predators. The one thing I know that Predators fans want the young players to be up here. I mean, before all of this happened, I said what I would do this offseason: get rid of all of the veterans, fill the holes with kids, sink or swim. But the Predators, there is so much riding on Brady Martin being an impact player for this organization for a long time. The last thing you want to do is, to use the same term I used before, toss him into the deep end before he's ready. And now the Predators have enough forwards that they don't have to do that. Brady Martin can come to training camp and earn a spot and get himself into the lineup. But the Predators are not in the position now where it's like, man, we've got to find a place for Brady Martin. What are we going to do about Brady Martin? They don't have to do that anymore. So I see that as a good thing for now.
I see teams sometimes throw a guy like that in to the lineup too early to say, hey, look at this 19-year-old. He's in our lineup. We're playing the kids. But sometimes they prove not to be ready for that. I also am curious about the rule. Do they have the leeway now? Will they have the leeway? Because I don't think it's been clarified of whether Brady Martin can now be moved to Milwaukee, because the rule used to be, or has been up until now, that when you're a Canadian junior player, you either play in the NHL or you go back to juniors. And that is the age that Martin is, under 20 years old. So the flexibility to be able to send him to Milwaukee would be a really good option. And he can't play college hockey because he signed a pro contract. So he's already played, 2 or 3 NHL games.
3.
So, yeah, so that's a pathway he can't go down, unlike the guys I just picked in the first round. So this is a huge year. In a nutshell, it does look like the all of the ballyho that we make, this is the 5th or 6th best prospect pool. It looks like Chris McFarland is very much valuing the younger guys in that pool much more than the guys that are 2021. He's valuing Martin. He's valuing the guys he just picked, obviously. He's valuing Riker Lee. He's Igor Surin. These are the guys he's talking about much more than LaRue and Svechkov, who he's already moved on from. And now, as we've said, Kemmel and Schaefer would be guys I'm curious about. What they're going to have to sort of break their way in and show that they're ready to blossom, or else I think they would be the next two that it looks like they've got the pieces to move on from them if they don't win it themselves. If they don't rise up to the competition, as Derek was saying.
Robert says, don't we want Brady Martin to learn from guys like Ryan O'Reilly while they're still here? Don't we want him learning the habits of Steven Stamkos while he's still here?
Yes, for sure.
I think Robert's point is, if Martin's not on the team, how can he do that?
I think you try to take advantage of wherever you are. If he's not ready to help them play, remember last year they kept him at the start of the season and they were healthy scratching him, but they wanted him to be around the veteran players to feel what it's like to be around those guys. That was beneficial, but it's also beneficial to play a lot in Milwaukee. We don't. If I'm the Predators, I'm saying we don't want him to be a guy that you play for 5 or 6 minutes and healthy scratch some. Like, you want him playing a lot of minutes in situations where he can develop. I understand the question, though. It's a good one.
Logan says, are these D the Predators are adding any good? Well, the only D, unless I'm missing someone, the only D they've added is Ilya Lyubushkin. And Lyubushkin was a cap dump included in the Maverick Bork trade. Ilya Lyubushkin, he's a big boy, 6'2", 206 pounds. He's 32 years old, Russian. He has played for 5 NHL teams over an 8-year career. He's been traded multiple times in his career. Perfectly serviceable defenseman. He spent the past 2 seasons with the Dallas Stars. He averaged under 17 minutes of ice time per game over those 2 seasons. Guy you can put on your second pair, probably your third pair. Won't wow you with anything he does. Doesn't have a lot of offensive skill. He is a stay-at-home defenseman, but he does help. And the Predators agreeing to take on Lyubushkin, which helped the Stars, helped the Predators get Maverick Bork at a discount.
I still think there will be some massaging of the decor.
Yes.
But Lyubushkin is useful. Look at guys who have played 500 games who you know what you're getting, and if you feel like he's a fit for the way your team plays, and I don't know if they see him as a fit because I think they had to take the contract to get the deal done with Bork. But they're probably saying, guy that's played 450-something games, we could probably use a guy like that. Those guys usually find a job, right? Those fifth, sixth defensemen that have experience usually find their way. Ian Cole just signed another contract with somebody. That guy changes teams, I think, every year. But it's the same kind of thing. You know what you're getting. He's not going to light the score sheet up, but he can do a job. So I think Lyubushkin is in this mix somewhere, but it gives them flexibility to make other moves if they're looking to do so.
And there are some interesting names who have not been signed yet around the NHL. John Carlson still does not have a contract. Michael Bunting still does not have a contract. Patrick Kane, still kicking, does not have a contract. We mentioned Ellie Tolvanen doesn't have a contract.
Ellie Tolvanen is an interesting one. I would have thought somebody.
Alex Ovechkin doesn't have a contract. Well, we're waiting to see if he comes back.
Right. That's the question with him. Andrew Peeke is another defenseman that I thought would be one of the better sought-after D-men. He's not signed yet. Mario Ferraro is another one who's played a lot of minutes. They're probably haggling over what those guys are worth. Because, again, these guys aren't earth shakers, but they could be fits on teams looking to get some help.
Has the Belgium game gone final?
It has.
Yes, it
It's
has.
over.
So Belgium advances in the World Cup. If the U.S. men's national team can also win tonight against Bosnia-Herzegovina, 7 p.m. on Fox at Levi Stadium. If the U.S. can win, it will be the U.S. versus Belgium in the next round of the World Cup. Some really fabulous games today and throughout this tournament. For someone who is not a big soccer fan, I have enjoyed it thoroughly. And we have also enjoyed thoroughly today's program. And we appreciate you joining us for a July 1st edition of DMase, Vingan and Donick as we react to all of the major deals made around the NHL. We'll continue the Predators conversation tomorrow. We'll hear from Chris McFarland after his news conference today. We'll discuss what he had to say earlier today. And who knows what we'll get into because it's our final show of the week. No show on Friday because of the July 4th holiday. We will be at First Horizon Park tomorrow. Always enjoy being out there with our friends at the Nashville Sounds. But for the rest of the day, have a wonderful evening. Stay cool. And we will talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us because we will not forget about you. We will be back on these airways starting at 3 p.m. from First Horizon Ballpark. So as I always say, we're going to be talking and
You are going to be listening.
peace. Stay cool.
Hopefully this will be inspired, this first one about air conditioning. All right, here we go. When the Tennessee heat really kicks in like it has here recently, the last thing you want is your air conditioning giving out. Hey, I'm Willy Donick, and that's why I trust Lee Company. A quick AC tune-up and a seasonal maintenance. Let's do this one more time. When the Tennessee heat really kicks in, and it's kicking in, the last thing you want is your air conditioning giving out. Hey, I'm Willy Donick, and that's why I trust Lee Company. A quick AC tune-up and seasonal maintenance can help your system running efficient. Damn it. Keep leaving out words. 3, 2, 1. When the Tennessee heat really kicks in, and it's kicking in right now, the last thing you want is your air conditioning giving out. Hey, I'm Willy Donick, and that's why I trust Lee Company. A quick AC tune-up and seasonal maintenance can help keep your system running efficiently and help you avoid bigger problems when you need it most. The technicians at Lee Company are professional, dependable, and they make the whole process easy. So schedule your appointment today at LeeCompany.com. That's LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. All right, recruitment. 3, 2, 1. If you've been thinking about making a career move, this might be the perfect time. Hey, I'm Willy Donick, and Lee Company is looking for skilled tradespeople to join their team. Whether your experience is in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, sheet metal, or another trade, Lee Company offers competitive pay, great benefits, and free training to help you build a long-term career. They've been taking care of customers and employees for more than 80 years. Apply today at LeeCompany.com/careers. That's LeeCompany.com/careers. Lee Company, all you need. All right, electrical. Electrical problems always seem to happen at the worst possible time, don't they? Hey, I'm Willy Donick, and that's one of the reasons I trust Lee Company. Whether it's flickering lights, outlets that aren't working, a breaker that keeps tripping, or you're thinking about upgrading with a whole home generator, their award-winning electricians have you covered. They're professional, dependable, and available 24/7 to help keep your home safe and running the way it should. Schedule your appointment today at LeeCompany.com. That's LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Nothing can throw off your day quite like a plumbing problem. Hey, I've been there. We've all been there. I'm Willy Donick, and that's why I trust Lee Company. Whether it's a leaky faucet, a clogged drain, or a water heater that's decided to quit, their licensed plumbing professionals are ready to help. They're available 24/7. So when the unexpected happens, you can count on fast, reliable service from a team that's focused on getting your home back to normal. So schedule your appointment today at LeeCompany.com. That's LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need.